Bill Clinton. I would say that considering his power that he had and what happened as a result of his words, not specifically, but what he contributed to, he's one of the most evil men who's ever lived. That's ever. All right? And I can't see that changing anytime in the future based off of what's happened as a result of his words. And again, not explicitly his words, but he's contributed heavily because he was the president of the United States of America when he said those words. Now, before I get on to his ridiculous anti-America July 4th, it's more than just anti-America, it's anti-everything except for Democrat, July 4th comment that he put out on social media, which I wanted to comment about earlier, but I've had some relatives staying over for a couple weeks now, and man, same skin color, raised in the same country, literal relatives of mine, and yet they are so different. Talk all you want about how we need more immigrants from other countries with other cultures and other religions and stuff, but my own family member, they eat dinner at 3 p.m. and they go to sleep at 8 p.m. and they wake up at 9 a.m. Like, what even is that? That's neither here nor there. It's just I haven't been able to get out any videos really because of it. So, Bill Clinton. Before I get on to his tweet, I happened to see this video, and I could only ever find one other YouTube video with the same content as this. I searched and I searched and I searched, and I couldn't find anything about it. A bunch of different AI told me that there was no spoken response by Bill Clinton regarding the July 4th thing that Trump did, but this particular video explicitly says that.
Last night, on the eve of America's 250th birthday, President Trump stood beneath the granite faces of 4 presidents at Mount Rushmore.
So it's very explicitly about that particular thing, but I couldn't find anything else about it. I could not find this audio anywhere. There's no state media or anything talking about it, which they would be, because this is 18 minutes and 47 seconds of Bill Clinton just absolutely wrecking the Republicans with tons of accusations and such. But then there's this little bitty AI thing under the video. That's a bit concerning to me. And the audio of this, if you listen to it, it is a bit scuffed at times. Now, the channel itself, it's just Bill Clinton. Every single video is Bill Clinton, and it's only 3 months old. The channel's only 3 months old, and yet every single video has thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, and that particular video was 1.2 million. 1.2 million, and it had nearly 6,000, has nearly 6,000 comments right now. And I've scrolled through several hundred of them, and all I saw was the most sycophantic, the Democrats are the greatest thing ever, the Republicans are the most evil thing ever, that's the only thing people say. Now, I don't know if they're bots or if they're Democrats, it's hard to tell. And frankly, it's hard to tell whether or not Clinton would say this, because the AI does mostly sound accurate, and Clinton is a psychopath who does say totally anti-America things, totally anti-Republican things. He is like a lot of people these days. He's just lost his mind. And I think in his younger days, Clinton was a pretty eloquent speaker, at least from what I've heard of him, what I can recall anyway. He was basically like an enchanter. He confused people, but in reality, he's a zombie that is plaguing people with his cursed touch. Now, this channel, just to be entirely clear, it says, disclaimer, this is an independent fan-made channel not affiliated with Bill Clinton, his campaign, or any political organization. The videos are inspired by public speeches and verified news for educational and analytical purposes only. So it's got all the, this video of me in lingerie twerking. It's not meant for sexual purposes. It's got all that nonsense crap that morons think is going to protect their channel from being banned. Mark my words, this channel will eventually be banned because it's clearly an AI channel using AI Bill Clinton to produce Democratic slop propaganda. However, again, I can sort of forgive the idiot Democrats for not realizing that this is AI, because this is Bill Clinton's actual X account. And look at the header. Let me just make that bigger for you. There's former President of the United States of America, incredibly white man, Bill Clinton. This header, what is that? Is that Kenya? I mean, I don't know if that's America or not. I'm pretty sure that black lady probably isn't American, though. I mean, she might be. She might be like a return to the motherland sort of American, but why is this the header of... Oh, right, he's a Democrat. That's why. That's why a black lady holding a black baby and wrapped up in a shawl with some sort of like tribal skirt and a head wrap and all of that. That's why that's the header of the 42nd president of the United States of America, who I will remind everyone is incredibly white. It's because he's a Democrat. He cares more about foreign countries and foreign people than his own. Thank you, Bill Clinton. Jackass. Moving on to his 4th of July comment, statement from President Clinton, which he's not the president, hasn't been the president for quite some time, when it ended in 2001, I think, 1993 to 2001. Statement from President Clinton on America at 2:50 and the state of the country, July 4th, 2026. I'm going to read this and then react to it and then tell you why I think that Bill Clinton is one of the most evil people in the history of the world. Now, he starts with general fluffing. 250 years ago in Philadelphia, our founders embarked on a radical experiment and declared a new nation rooted in the ideal of equality, with an elected government charged to advance life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Since then, our government of, by, and for the people has become the longest-lasting continuous democracy in the history of the world. Our road from 1776 to today has been, in Abraham Lincoln's words, piled high with difficulty. At every turn, there have been forces of reaction seeking to claw back the extension of our rights and liberties to more people. But, by and large, thanks to celebrated leaders and everyday Americans alike, we have stumbled in the right direction, widening the circle of opportunity, deepening the meaning of freedom, and strengthening the bonds of our community. Now he undercuts that with a sort of get ready for it sort of jab at the ne'er-do-wells, aka the not Democrats. Today, we celebrate this milestone amid another period of deep division, renewed questions about America's future and role in the world, and serious threats to our own institutions and to our democracy itself. Mind you, these serious threats, he's saying, are the Republicans, which in this next paragraph, he attacks. Actually, for the rest of this, he more or less attacks. The people in charge have unleashed masked agents on American communities to seize people from their homes, workplaces, and the street. They have started an unconstitutional war on a whim, with no clear objectives or exit strategy, and zero regard for the consequences to the lives of millions of people around the world. With the help of lifetime appointees to the Supreme Court and a compliant Congress, they have weaponized government to settle personal scores, prosecute enemies, stamp out free speech, and made the federal government a new profit center for themselves and their allies. Their New Deal is socialism for the super rich and their own enrichment, even if it means increasing poverty, inequality, and illness at home and around the world. They also want to rewrite history to ignore and outright deny our past flaws while banning books that say otherwise from our libraries. And they select even our military leaders based on their version of political correctness over ability. Wow. So he's said every single stereotypical leftist talking point about the Republicans that they always do, but he's also said all of the Republican talking points towards the leftists, except he said it towards the right-wingers. He's calling the right-wingers socialists and DEI. I've never heard that before. That's honestly wild to me. Talking about rewriting history, the leftists always talk about rewriting history. At the same time, they're talking about how the black people freed themselves from slavery, and it wasn't the white people who did it. At the same time, they're tearing down statues. Oh, well, we need the books that tell us about racism and how white people are bad, but we can get rid of the statues about people who literally existed in the Civil War because they were white people. I mean, just really think about the entire paragraph. It's all insanity. He starts off by saying that America has no right to deport people who are illegal immigrants into their country, invaders into their country. He then goes on to call what we're doing in Iran an unconstitutional war, and that the people doing it have no idea what they're doing, and they don't care about the millions of people. It's a lot more than millions, by the way. It's like, just the fact that he said the lives of millions of people, that screams of like just got out of high school and into college, and I know what I'm talking about, sort of idiotic, spoiled brat kind of college student, doesn't it? Oh no, millions of people, way, way, way more than millions, billions of people are affected by what's happening in Iran. So why would the former president, or as he's written in the header, the president himself, why would he say millions of people? It just seems childish, doesn't it? But he's undermining the war that's happening, or whatever you want to call Iran. He's undermining that. A former president, one of multiple former presidents, that's attacking their own country for the purpose of destroying the Republicans permanently, which is obviously what they want, to create a dictatorship. And then they go on to say, with the help of lifetime appointees to the Supreme Court and a compliant Congress, they have weaponized government to settle personal scores, prosecute enemies, stamp out free speech. I mean, this is a whole shotgun blast there. Did Trump create the system where there was permanent members of the Supreme Court? Like, I don't know. Did he do that? I don't recall that happening. I mean, some of those people have been there for decades. Was Trump capable of enacting a permanent Supreme Court for decades? I mean, some of these people were there when Bill Clinton was there, right? So why is Bill Clinton blaming Trump for this? Why is he blaming the Republicans for this? It's a weird thing to say, isn't it? And to blame the Supreme Court and the Congress, I mean, again, the birthright citizenship, that is an obvious screw up by the Supreme Court, and you're going to blame them for just being totally pro-Trump? I don't think so. If they were totally pro-Trump, they would have just canned birthright citizenship, wouldn't they? But they didn't. You're saying they're getting rid of free speech, and yet all evidence points to the contrary. Now, people who have an opinion that isn't a democratic opinion have free speech, mostly through X, but it's been getting better just in general from various places. So it's not that there's less free speech, it's that there's free speech that you don't want to hear, which makes you think that you don't get as much free speech as you used to have. But you do, you just now hear people calling you an idiot when you say something. And their new deal is socialism for the super rich. What does that even mean, socialism for the super rich? Like, is that what socialism is? I mean, again, he's defining socialism in a way that a 18-year-old fresh out of high school, just going into college, who has no idea what socialism is, but knows that they're a socialist because they know capitalism is bad, because they listen to people who hate America and tell them that capitalism is bad. Like, socialism for the super rich, that's nonsense. That doesn't even mean anything. Even if it means increasing the poverty, inequality, and illness at home and around the world. That's right. Donald Trump is destroying the entire world for the sake of money. And what good is money when you have all of it? It doesn't mean anything anymore, does it? Everyone always says this, but everyone who's in the government always ends up filthy rich. I mean, isn't Mamdani increasing his payout for him and all of his people right now? That's socialist as well, but it's okay, though. He's a Democrat, right? They want to rewrite history and ignore it outright. Oh my God. So pitiful, these people. But that's only page 1. Only page 1. Oh, right. There's DEI claim at the end. I don't even know what that's about. I mean, I know they're getting rid of certain people, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're doing it based on DEI. I've never heard a left-winger call a right-winger woke and DEI or whatever. That's honestly a first for me. Never heard them call them a socialist either. But now, page 2. But this isn't the first time we've come close to the edge. This is the part where he tells an inspiring speech to let the Democrats know that there's still a chance for them to destroy all the Republicans and take over America. Throughout our history, we've fought about what it means to make our union more perfect and who belongs. So far, at every major turning point, we've chosen inclusion over division. In the early days of the Republic, by building a national economic and legal system; during the Civil War, by preserving the Union and ending slavery; in the early 20th century, as we moved from an agricultural to an industrial society, by making our government stronger to preserve competition, promote basic safeguards for labor, and provide for the poor; the elderly, and the infirm; in the 60s and 70s, by advancing civil rights and women's rights and protecting our natural resources from plunder; and at the dawn of the new millennium, by moving into the global informational age in a way that distributed the benefits of our interdependence to more people. It's just setting people up for what yet's to come. Our founders were wise when they gave us our mission to form a more perfect union. They knew America would never be perfect, but could always be better. That's what they meant by more perfect. I just don't even know why he said that. I mean, obviously they didn't think it was possible to be perfect, and if they said to be more perfect, then that's kind of obvious, isn't it? Again, like, why even say this? It's stupid. Like, he keeps, like I said, he used to be like something of an enchanter, something of a wordsmith, and now he sounds like a doddering old fool losing his mind. Like, obviously they didn't think that the country was perfect. Obviously they meant to make it better when they said more perfect. You don't need to literally spell it out for people. Well, maybe you do. I don't know. The Supreme Court's decision on birthright citizenship, so that was stupid, which apparently needed to be spelled out. I guess for some people, for women, and the honorary woman of Chief Justice John Roberts. Anyway, moving on. Quote, "We've done that by being courageous enough to acknowledge our flaws and missteps, and then bold enough to leave them behind for a brighter tomorrows." For brighter tomorrows. Sorry. I don't, what's exactly brighter exactly? I mean, where does Clinton live exactly? Does he live in like a mansion in a gated community in a place called like Whiteville or White Town or something? Like, obviously this guy doesn't have any kind of problems in his life. No real problems, not normal citizen problems, right? I mean, there's so many issues that have not gotten brighter, but in fact have gotten darker, that people aren't fixing, that are getting worse. It's such a stupid thing to say, especially because he's specifically responsible for a huge amount of it, which is why I say he's one of the most evil people. And I'll get there, but I have to. There's a lot into that. Like, that's going to be a significant chunk of the video, which is already getting long. So that's the lesson of our first 250 years. We can always do better in how we treat one another, in person and online, in building a better future for ourselves, our families, our communities, and in standing up, showing up, and speaking out for our democracy. There is still nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what's right with America. And of course, he means to say there that the Democrats are what's right with America, and they need to cure America of the Republicans. We see in it the people lining up to vote, no matter how hard some may try to prevent them. He's saying the Republicans are trying to stop Democrats from voting. We see in it those bringing groceries to their neighbors, and by neighbors he means illegal immigrants, donating to charities in record numbers, which is probably a jab at USAID, even though the African immigrant said USAID is a cancer for their country, for their continent even, and serving their country and communities in countless ways, which is a redundant thing to say, considering that you've already listed multiple ways in which they've helped their country. And we see it in the immigrants, eager to bring their talent, hard work, and dreams to our country. I don't know why they needed to mention immigrants twice, and why they needed to talk about the immigrants' dreams, because that's their thing, not our thing, is it? That's not America's thing. That's the immigrants' thing. Anyway, really weird paragraph that basically says that the Democrats are right and the Republicans are wrong. This is on the 4th of July, and we have former presidents basically making, I won't say anti-America exactly, but it's anti-Republican America, anti-independent America. It's pro-Democrat America. I particularly enjoy the comment about voting, because that's not like some sort of veiled comment or anything. For instance, we know that the Democrats aren't trying to stop anyone from voting, right? Doesn't matter if you're from, the USA or Guatemala or Cambodia or Sierra Leone or Turkey, wherever. Although they'd probably prefer you to not be from like Florida or some other red state, Hungary, Poland. But probably they just want the 40 IQ sort of immigrants and the blue state people to come vote. But yeah, they're not trying to keep anyone from voting. So obviously they're saying Republicans are the ones who are doing it. They're painting Republicans as the bad guy. A former president is out here trying to paint the Republicans as just a wholly evil thing. And the final paragraph says, "So today, celebrate the miracle that has brought us this far. I know I will, because I love my country so much." Oh God, sorry. I almost puked in my mouth because this jackass has just spent the past 2 pages talking about how horrible America is because of the Republicans, and how the Democrats need to destroy the Republicans because they're trying to ruin the entire world. It's basically what he's been saying, and now he's sitting here saying that he loves his country so much in his weird Hallmark card comment. Then tomorrow, wake up and ask yourself what part you will play to keep making our union more perfect by keeping our country in the future business. Ugh. We owe that much to those who struggled and sacrificed to bring us this far, and to our children and grandchildren who will soon inherit that future. Unless they've been aborted, Bill. Unless they've been aborted, and that is why you are one of the most evil people in the world, because you championed abortion. You, a president, not me, not some random jackass podcaster, some celebrity, not some nobody, which in the grand scheme of things, they're farts in the wind. Even the Supreme Court, like the average person doesn't know the names of anyone in the Supreme Court. They don't know anything the Supreme Court did. They know the words of a president, though. They know the words of the figureheads. And you, Bill Clinton, You championed abortion. And now you're sitting here talking about our children and grandchildren. 73 million abortions per year. Not all in America, sure, but America is the guiding light, the North Star by which a lot of people follow. Even if they find themselves hating America, they end up following America's ideals. Even if it's subconsciously trained through Hollywood or through social media, they still end up doing what America does. And what America does is a lot of abortions. Don't they? A lot of abortions, a lot of immigration, a lot of wokeness, a lot of DEI, but I'm blaming abortions on Bill Clinton. Now, I know he's not the first person to do it. Obviously, Roe versus Wade, that was 1973. That was the Supreme Court. Not Bill Clinton's fault, but he was the president. His word carries far and wide. It's like an avalanche crashing down on any kind of thoughts of the people. And those people, they are sort of what dictates the social atmosphere, which is ultimately what controls what is right and wrong in legislation. Because people will change legislation to fit the general narrative of the people in the country. Now, the Supreme Court in 1973 in the Roe versus Wade case, they decided to let the person have an abortion because the 14th Amendment, funny this, they've gotten the 14th Amendment wrong back then, and they got it wrong just recently with birthright citizenship. Well, back then, the 14th Amendment, they got it wrong because, they decided that she was allowed to have an abortion because of privacy. The personal privacy. Now, I don't know where exactly you would get off thinking that privacy and murdering your own children is the same thing, but whatever. That's the Supreme Court's failing. That's the judicial atmosphere is failing. Bill Clinton, as the president, his voice carried far and wide in what he said that day in 1993.
Natal care, child care, and family and medical leave that will lead to healthy childbearing and support America's families. As a nation, our goal should be to protect individual freedom while fostering responsible decision-making, an approach that seeks to protect the right to choose while reducing the number of abortions. Our vision should be of an America where abortion is safe and legal, but rare.
Yeah, okay, Bill. You're going to reduce the amount of abortions by making it legal. How does that square up in your mind exactly? You're going to give rats free cheese, and yet the rats are going to get skinnier? Is that it? Is that what's going to happen in your mind? Are you an idiot? I don't... 73 million per year. That's a big number. And I know that's not all in America, but I'm certain that legalizing abortion didn't decrease the number of it. You know this because you can look at how many abortions there are. You can look at how people look at abortions. You can look at how they have looked at abortions around that time when Bill Clinton said this and since then. Now, these are the views on the legalities of abortion by party. And this is from Gallup.com. You can look at whatever site you want to. I've looked at quite a few. They're all pretty much the same. So start with Republicans. The dark blue bar is legality under certain circumstances. The dotted blue bar is illegal in all circumstances. And the green bar is legal in all circumstances, which also means no circumstance because it just means you can do it for any reason whatsoever. So for the Republicans, right now, 26% think it should be illegal no matter what. Well, that's pretty bad, honestly, because, presumably these people are thinking about every angle. Like, if you're thinking about an 8-year-old who's been SA'd, I think that they should be allowed to have an abortion. You know, it's not like a great circumstance for anybody in there, and you just have to cut your losses. But 66% think it should be legal under certain circumstances, like the one I just mentioned. Now, people act like the Republicans are all a bunch of monsters who think that everyone should be every woman anyway should be suffering under the threat of SA and stuff like that. But it's not the case. The vast majority of them, far more than you would think, really, by the narrative that every single Republican is some crazy Bible thumper, 66% of them think that it should be okay in certain circumstances. And if you look at this number, go back to 1993, here it is, 51% thought that in 1993, and it's gone up to 66% now. It's not really so interesting to look at the Republican side of thing, but the legal under any circumstance has actually gone down. So you see, this has created a divide here. In 1993, it was 26% legal under any circumstance, and it's down to 7% now. And that's all more or less started with Clinton. in and around that area. I mean, there's highs and lows. It depends on who's president and what the circumstances in any given time are, and people change over time. But then another interesting one: independents are all basically the same because they aren't really swayed by anything, so they're all kind of always the same. And then the Democrats, another interesting one to look at. So the green bar, legal under any circumstance. This is the one you really want to look at in either case, honestly. And in 1993, it was 35%, which it was more or less the same for about a decade. But then Clinton said that. It spiked up, dipped down a little bit, down in 1998, and then it just a constant rise. I don't know what the hell happened in 1998, honestly. It went down to 23%, but then a constant rise. And now it's at 55%, which is actually lower than I thought it was going to be. Honestly, I thought it was going to be a bit higher for legal of 90%. I don't know exactly how accurate these charts are, but I noticed something really interesting about this. It's 55% now, but 2 years ago, when Trump was elected, it was 65%. And if you go back to 2019, right after Trump's first term was ending, it was 39. And then it flipped. Basically, like Biden won, he was winning and he won at the end of 2019 and such. I mean, people were kind of locked in on Biden. And so it went from 39 to 49% in 1 year. And then over the course of Biden's term, it went up to 65%. And then it dropped by 10% in just the 2 years since Trump's been elected. And this obviously has nothing to do with Trump. Like, Trump doesn't really talk about abortions, not that I've seen anyway. So this is clearly having to do with free speech on the internet, isn't it? This must have something to do with free speech on the internet, because how the hell else do you say that the amount of Democrats who thought that abortion should be legal under any percent was 39%, in any circumstance, was 39% in 2019. And then in 2024, it was 65%, almost double in 5 years. That's crazy. And then in another 2 years, it's dropped by 10%. Of course, we know the Democrats are all over the place with their beliefs. They have no idea what they want at any given point in time. They're completely neurotic. But that is a wild number. And it's a number, again, if you contrast that with the Republicans, and they're legal under any percent, and they're like, one's going down and one's going up, and they're both more or less starting from 1993, both more or less starting from when Clinton was in president, from 1993 to 2001. That was kind of like where everything shifted. Now, again, I don't blame everything on Clinton regarding this, but you have to look at the weight of a president's words, and you have to look at what happens as a result of this. It's not just abortion. He made the Democratic Party, because it's also because he is a Democrat. He made the Democratic Party into the party of females. The Republicans do not promise women anything. It's a joke when the left wing is like, well, how do we get men on our side? The Republicans don't promise men anything. They don't promise men anything. But the Democrats do promise women something. That's the difference. They became the party of females based off of abortion. And that means that anyone who isn't a Democrat must be in favor of rape, right? They must be in favor of hurting women. Well, if you don't want a woman to have an abortion, then you're evil, right? You're a sexist, you're a misogynist, you're a patriarch, you're a Republican. So now the Republicans are the party of rapists. This is how the narrative has gone. And that mentality feeds into all males are violent, all males are dangerous. I'd rather pick the bear than the man. That narrative, blinded by the actual statistics. They don't care about the statistics. They don't care about the fact that abortion is murder. They don't care about that. They've reframed it, haven't they? They've reframed it as pro-choice. They've reframed it as women's health, women's right, reproductive freedoms. They try to claim a monopoly on it by saying reproductive freedom, as if men don't reproduce. Isn't that what they've done when they said my body, my choice? They claimed a monopoly on breeding, a monopoly on reproduction. They've taken it away from men. There's always this guise, these masked words with what they say. They can never speak the truth. Why do they say pro-life and pro-choice? Isn't it pro-life and pro-death? Why is it pro-choice? Why is it reproductive freedom? Why is it women's health? Why is it not abortion? Why is it not pro-death? Why is it not the truth? And this has resulted in women just like, not just women, but I guess Democrats as a whole, and especially women, it's resulted in them creating this like echo chamber of lies that they can't They can't ever admit, because once they do, the whole thing falls apart. And it is mostly women, because women are the single biggest voter base in the world. There's more women than there are men. So, therefore, women are a huge voter base, the biggest single voter base. And all of this boils down into other things. Loads of young women are now misandrists. They don't like men. Even the heterosexual ones don't like men. They hate men far more than men hate women. And as a result, the dating scene is ruined. The family life is ruined. Reproduction ends. We have birth rate problems. We have to import a ton of immigrants. Women then feel like they need to protect all of the immigrants, which is technically a different issue as far as their mental state goes, but it is just a Democrat thing in the end. I mean, you can say that there's some big conspiracy behind the Democrats legalizing abortion and then bringing in a ton of immigrants. I mean, that really is like great replacement theory talking there. At this point, I'm just talking about the literal facts. And the fact is that legalizing abortion made women into misandrists. It ruined dating. It ruined families. It ruined child rearing. It ruined so many things that you wouldn't even think of. Like, you would never think that it was somehow going to affect border control. You'd never think that it was going to affect children being taught to be trans in schools. And yet, somehow, we've ended up in this spot where, I say somehow, I mean, the somehow is very obvious. It's not moral. It's immoral. I mean, it's destroyed morality. It's destroyed happiness. We've degenerated by allowing women to mass murder, to genocide children, and say that it's a great thing. Amongst the great many things the power of abortion has given women, the women's rights and feminism and such has snowballed into, has been the pornocracy. I mean, it all goes hand in hand. Like, women now don't wear clothing, and as a result of that, little girls now don't wear clothing. On this very website, there are countless illions of videos that are uploaded by the kids themselves, of themselves wearing provocative clothing and doing provocative things in complete mimicry of the adult women, and everyone says that that's just totally normal. Just like how abortions are now totally normal. Just like how it's totally normal to have a ±0 birth rate and start importing a bunch of Muslims in order to make up for the lack of children that your country has. That's not normal, though. None of that is normal. It's some sort of machination, or maybe just bad luck. Maybe it's just idiots being in charge, or a combination of some such things, but it's clearly not normal. It's not an exaggeration to say that it's destroying the country, and that it can and very much will destroy the country if it's not dealt with. And it's not just this country. It's all of the progressive countries, all of the modern countries, all of the countries where people get high-paying degrees, where they want to go be heart surgeons and lawyers and stuff, and then they don't want to get pregnant because, well, you can't be a heart surgeon when you're pregnant. You can't raise a kid when you're a heart surgeon. Well, there's only one solution then, isn't there? But all of the welfare state people, all of the foreigners, the people working at minimum wage, well, they can make more money by just taking a welfare check, just taking child support from the government. They can have kid after kid after kid, 5 kids, 10 kids. Meanwhile, our people, or whatever country it is, the people who are native to the country, who are getting higher education and stuff, who are getting higher paying jobs, they don't have to worry about having children. They'll just abort them. Meanwhile, they're having no children, and all of the immigrants and all of the welfare state people are having loads of children. Well, where is that going to go, do you think, in 100 years? Well, we're getting there, aren't we? We're getting there real fast, actually. I think in the next 20 odd years, the majority, the native majority of countries is going to be the minority compared to immigrants. It's happening really, really, really quickly. And guess what? When all of these people from foreign countries with foreign gods who say that they can dominate us and do whatever they want to us are the majority, well, we already have Chinese-born people in our House of Representatives. We have congressmen in our country born in China already saying, Eugene Wu already saying that they're the majority and that they can now take over the country from us, white people, the oppressors. They're already saying it. And it's just so blatant and straightforward and obvious, and yet no one on the left seems to want to address the problem that's being set forth. And it's also, I mean, the religion's another aspect to it. The more intelligent you are, the more likely you are to lose faith. Well, there's 2 billion Muslims, a little over 2 billion Muslims, and I'm not saying they're all stupid. Actually, the smart ones are the scarier ones. But the thing is, when you have 2 billion people who all believe in a God that thinks that it's it's basically okay for you to use your club to whack someone over the head and drag them back to your cave and do whatever you want to them. We don't want 2 billion Muslims in the country. That should be pretty damn obvious. But for some reason, the Democrats are opening the door to that. My point isn't exactly about immigration or anything like that. My point is that it's all an extension of abortion, because abortions gave women unlimited power. They gave the majority voter base a huge say in what's done. And now we have activist judges. We have activist judges in the Supreme Court, for that matter. We have women in every place teaching our children to be trans, teaching them socialism. And when I say children, I do mean in like daycare and elementary schools and stuff, not just high school and college. In every aspect of it, we're filled with SSRIs and mental health and all that kind of crap, controlling what people think. Our media was controlled for so long. Again, you can just look at this and see the shift in just 5 years. That is absolutely crazy, from 39% to 65% in just 5 years, thinking that it's okay to abort your child for any reason whatsoever. And again, any reason means no reason. You don't need a reason if it's any reason. So you can just want to. You can literally get sexually aroused by the thought of doing it, by the act of doing it. That can be enough of a reason. Sexual arousal for aborting your child. That can be enough of a reason. Like, they don't care. That's the thing. They don't care. And I think the Republicans, I'd personally side with the independents here. I'm not a Republican, so I think legal only under certain circumstances. I'm actually surprised at how many independents think it should be illegal in all states, which is, in all scenarios rather, which is 17%. That is a bit surprising to me, but I guess it's not too surprising to think there might be some religious people who are not Republican or Democrat. I'm sort of veer off course here. The point is, Bill Clinton's a lying asshole, and he's a POS Democrat. I don't like to say bad things about the presidents, sitting or former, because when too many people are saying bad things about the leader of your country, it does sort of sound really bad for your country. I don't like to say that, but Bill Clinton is a plague on the country. He is, even now, long after he was out of office, issuing out his stupid statements saying that he's the president, which is weird, and he's just trying to attack America on its birthday. Outrageous. What an outrageous thing to do. But don't forget the beginning of this video with this AI slop and stuff. You got to pay attention to that stuff. You got to keep your eyes open for it, because this little message here by Bill Clinton, now this is only on X. He put it out on Facebook and Instagram and stuff as well, but on X it has 2.2 million views. Okay? 2.2 million views. That slop AI propaganda video had 1.2 million views, and it's only been up for a few days. So keep your eyes out for that. Make sure you don't fall for any of it, regardless if it's left or right, because there is a hell of a lot, and it's just going to be getting worse. And I don't know, the worse the AI gets, the more they're going to use it as an excuse for censorship as well. But all I wanted to do was just say F you to Bill Clinton, basically. He's an awful man who has the blood of hundreds of millions, if not billions, of fetuses on his hands. Well, I guess he's just swimming in an ocean of fetal blood at this point. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on this because the video is already quite long, but just to be clear, the amount of abortions that have happened in the USA have actually gone down since Clinton's address of safe, legal, and rare. But if you remember what was happening in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, back when our people were high on war, high on post-war, high on victory, high on drugs, the summer of love. Everyone was stupid. Everyone was a druggie. Everyone was screwing. The AIDS was everywhere. HIV was everywhere. And then those people got old. Well, they either died from their diseases that they had, or they got old and they were too old to keep getting pregnant, really. And so the next generation grew up and they weren't doing that crap anymore. And we have less and less and less people going out there and doing crap like that. People still treat sex as a game. They still treat sex as an icebreaker. But now it's much easier to avoid pregnancy in general. It's kind of, you have schools giving people condoms for free. Like, that's the point we're at now. And you can see abortions going back up in recent years. Abortions are much easier now, much simpler. So it's going to keep getting worse, really. And yeah, the narrative is basically that abortions seem like they went down after his whole thing, but really it's just that the generation of people who were screwing like bunnies got old or died. And that's really what happened. And the next generation of people grew up and they didn't really have that coding that their parents did. And then the next generation of people are growing up and they're even less so than the previous one. That's really what's happening. And abortions are becoming easier in recent years. And so you see a spike there. So I don't want to spend any more time on that, but if you can go, I'll provide a link to this if you want to look at it yourself. And in case the point hasn't gotten across yet of just how evil Bill Clinton is, the reason he's so in favor of abortion isn't just because he's a Democrat. This is a man who may have been acquitted, but was impeached because he cheated on his wife with his aide whilst in the White House. Every man who is in favor of an abortion, in favor of their own child having their life taken from them by their own mother while they're still in the womb, that man can only be saying such a thing because he is either completely mentally deranged or because he wanted to have sex for fun and doesn't want to deal with the consequences. Now, what do you think would happen to the President of the United States if he happened to knock up some random woman who wasn't his wife while he was married and the president? Ooh, yeah, not a good look. In fact, it wasn't a good look, and yet people, especially Democrats, are still treating the man with some sort of respect. He cheated on his wife, and Democrats are sitting here applauding his July 4th takedown of America, the takedown of the Republicans, of capitalism, of Christianity, of white people. They're applauding it. They love it. Oh, so well said, well spoken. Oh, he's such a strong man, and he didn't shout even one time, unlike the Orange Man. They're so deranged that they're now applauding a man who cheated on his wife. The party of females applauding a man who cheated on his wife with his aide, who I'm pretty sure was much younger than him. And I'm sure it was an abuse of power as well, don't you think? And that's why he wanted abortions to be legalized, very clearly. I mean, it's the reason why any man would want abortions to be legalized. You can try to make the argument that he thought he was doing it for the sake of his country, that he was trying to help people. Well, I think he was doing it because his name is Bill Quagmire Clinton. Giggity effing giggity. Or he was doing it because he's the whipping boy of his wife, as is the majority of the soy boys who make up the left wing's testosterone department, if you can call it that. I mean, what were the percentages again of male to female and female to male transgenders? I think it's like 1 trillion to 1 male to females, because that's basically the only thing anyone wants to do. Why would you want to be a man in the world where women rule? Yeah, Bill Clinton has ruined the world. Bill Clinton gave women unlimited power, and they immediately became psychotic, misandristic, genocidal lunatics. Probably some redundancy in what I just said there, but you get the point. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to complain about Bill Clinton because he is a roach. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed, please do the YouTube things. Even if you didn't enjoy, keep your eyes out for AI slop. Don't fall for it.